Imagine your family isn't just blood, it's an army, willing to do anything for their principles. And here you are, with that damn red symbol on your head, deciding that today you're not backing down. But no one warned you that one sentence from a teacher could tear everything apart, and not just in the classroom. Who could have guessed your actions would unravel secrets better left buried? It only gets worse from here, and trust me, you didn't see this coming. Marcos leaned against the classroom window, staring out at the empty schoolyard as if it held the answers to his life's questions. His MAGA hat was snug on his head, sitting there like it belonged. Honestly, it did. He didn't care what anyone thought. To him, that red hat wasn't just fabric, it was a statement, a loud, in-your-face middle finger to everything everyone else stood for. His dad wore the same one, proudly, like some kind of badge. It was more than a hat, it was a declaration of independence from the world that didn't understand them, didn't get it. The students around him were quiet, trying not to stare but failing miserably. Marcos caught their eyes but didn't flinch, let them whisper, let them judge. But no one had the balls to say anything to his face. They knew better. Then, like a storm cloud rolling in, Mr. Page walked into the room. The energy shifted immediately. Mr. Page wasn't some chill teacher who'd let stuff slide. Oh no, he was the kind of guy who made sure every student followed the rules. His rules. And right now, Marcos was breaking the biggest one, making everyone uncomfortable by existing in that hat. Marcos, take that thing off. Mr. Page's voice was cold, almost mechanical. Marcos just raised an eyebrow, like he hadn't heard him. You got a problem with my style, Mr. Page? There was a beat of silence. Page's eyes narrowed, lips tight. I'm serious. Take it off. The class watched in silence, waiting for the inevitable explosion. Marcos could feel all eyes on him, but he didn't care. If anything, it just made the moment feel even more delicious, like they all wanted to see how this was going to play out. They wanted the drama. Yo, you really gonna go there? Marcos said, tapping his hat with his finger, a smirk on his face. This thing? You really think I'm gonna just take it off 'cause you said so? Mr. Page wasn't having it. You're in my classroom, and in my classroom, there's respect for the rules. That hat represents something that, yeah, I know the spiel. Marcos cut him off, now standing up straight, the smugness dripping from his words. But newsflash, Mr. Page, not everyone thinks the way you do. Not everyone's going to play by your rules. The tension in the room was thick enough to slice with a knife. Some of the kids were squirming in their seats, others pretending they didn't care, but everyone knew what was coming. Mr. Page was getting pissed. You're not listening, Page said, voice low, barely controlled. I don't give a damn about your politics, but there's a time and a place for everything. And right now, this is my class, not your protest rally. Marcos grinned. He loved this. The power. The control. You think taking my hat off will shut me up? Nah, man, it's not happening. He swung his bag over his shoulder and turned his back on Mr. Page, daring him to do something. The classroom was electric now. Everyone knew this wasn't just about a hat anymore. This was about power, about pushing boundaries. But what Marcos didn't know was that this wasn't just any teacher. This wasn't some random adult who could be pushed around. Mr. Page had his own reasons for not backing down. And then, it happened. In a split second, Mr. Page's hand shot out and yanked the hat off Marcos's head, tossing it out the open window without a second thought. The class froze. Marcos's heart dropped. His MAGA hat, the one thing that made him feel like he had control over something, was gone. And not just lost, it was out in the world, somewhere, probably on the wet grass below. He was stunned for a second, but then the anger hit. All that defiance, all that pride, gone in an instant. "You're gonna regret that," Marcos said through gritted teeth, his voice low but filled with venom. Mr. Page stood there breathing hard, clearly proud of himself. "Maybe. But I think you're the one who's going to regret not learning how to respect others." Marcos's hands balled into fists. The classroom was still silent, everyone afraid to make a move. But something shifted in that moment. It wasn't just about the hat anymore. It was about respect, about control, about the fact that someone had taken something away from him without asking. Marcos didn't know what to do. His mind raced, but he was stuck. All he wanted was to walk out, to grab his hat and get out of there. But he knew better than to make a scene, not with Mr. Page standing there looking like he had just won some moral high ground. "I'm done here," Marcos muttered, snatching his backpack off the chair and heading for the door. But as he reached the door, he turned back to face Page, something snapping inside him. "You think you're the only one with a point of view?" he asked, his voice sharp now. "Maybe you're just too blind to see it." Mr. Page didn't respond, but the look in his eyes told Marcos everything he needed to know. He wasn't going to back down. Not today. Not tomorrow. Marcos stepped out of the room, his mind still buzzing, his chest tight with anger and something else, maybe a bit of respect. The game had just changed, and he wasn't sure if he had won or lost. But one thing was for sure. Things were never going to be the same.